Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Shri Kumarswami College, Ausa, I welcome all the honorable dignitaries and participants here on the virtual platform for the national webinar on the topic Role of Robotics in Every Field. As you all know, the college has been running a mega series of national and international webinars on different topics related with different fields. The webinar series is proving beneficial for the students, researchers, knowledge seekers, teachers, and people from different fields. The webinar series is going on successfully because of the innovative and strong academic leadership of the chief organizer and chairperson of this webinar series, Honorable Principal Dr. M. Bedkar sir. I heartily welcome him as the chairperson of this webinar. I also welcome today's honorable keynote speaker, Dr. Ishrat Meera Mirzana ma'am Professor Mechanical Engineering, R&D Coordinator, Muffakham College of Engineering and Technology. Ma'am, I heartily welcome you on behalf of the organizing committee of the webinar series, Shri Kumarswami College, Ausa. I also welcome all honorable organizing committee members, including Vice Principal Dr. S.D. Misal sir, Junior College Supervisor Ravindra Karanje sir, MCVC Supervisor Praveen Udge sir, IQAC Coordinator Dr. Sanjay Kale sir, Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am, Dr. Sudhir Garad sir, Ambadas Khillare sir, Dr. Patwari sir, and Dr. Wadkar sir. We all are here to be audience of the keynote speech by the honorable speaker. But before the commencement of the speech, I request Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am to introduce today's honorable invited speaker and resource person. Please ma'am, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. You are welcome to this grand national and international webinar series. On occasion of Golden Jubilee year of the college, Shri Kumarswami Mahavidyalaya Ausa has organized a wonderful grand knowledge sharing webinar series with the mission of women empowerment and women dignity. This series is going on very successfully and systematically because of the efficient and motivational personality respected Dr. Bedkar MM and all the resource persons and the punctual participants. I am very thankful to respected principal for giving me this opportunity to introduce resource person on this virtual platform. Many special thanks goes to organizing committee members and a big thanks to all the respected participants. Those are joining daily from all over India and abroad also, and they are making this series a very successful series. So I am very happy to introduce today's keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Ishrat Mirzana ma'am, who is Professor Mechanical Engineering Department, R&D Coordinator, Muffakham College of Engineering and Technology, Hyderabad. Title of speech is Role of Robotics in Every Field. Dr. Ishrat ma'am is working as professor in mechanical engineering at Hyderabad. She has 2 decades of teaching experience. She published 20 textbooks in the field of mechanical engineering along with journal and conference papers. She has 1 Australian patent grant and 2 utility patent granted and 1 copyright granted and published patents too. She received awards like Faculty Award for Excellence Teaching in Higher Education presented by DK International Research Foundation. She also got Research Ratna Award of the year 2019 as Distinguished Researcher in Functionally Graded Materials presented by World Research Council. Then she also got Best Women Faculty Award. She is recognized research supervisor for Usmania University, Andhra Pradesh. She is a member of Indian Society for Technical Education, Indo-US Collaboration for Engineering Education, Quality Circle of India, etc. So after this introduction, I request today's keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Ishrat ma'am, please start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita ma'am, for your wonderful introduction. Thank you, Prakash sir, for the welcome address. I thank Bedkar sir for giving me this opportunity to be a part of your Golden Jubilee celebrations of Shri Kumarswami Mahavidyalaya. Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. It's a great indeed pleasure for me to be a part of this event. And let me present my presentation. I hope the slide is visible, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, before I start with my presentation, let me tell me about the flow of my presentation. I'm basically focusing on what is the role of robotics in every field. For that purpose, I'm starting with the history of robotics. Then, what are the components or things, main basic requirements for the robots or its classification and types. Then talk about the application of robots. Then finally, when you want to take up a project, how you have to design about a robotics one. Because one of the patent that is granted for me is pneumatic quad robot, that is a 4-legged robot. So with respect to it, I would like to discuss. That means my session is divided into 4 parts. That is how I'll be going with my presentation. If there are any queries, please put across in the chat box. I'll get back to you. Thank you. So when we talk about robotics, first thing is, what is a robot? So a robot is a device that performs functions which are not good, or they are like almost a robot acts like a human being. That's the reason it should have, or it should be programmed in such a way that it should be able to take that human intelligence. So that's the reason Robotic Institutes Association defines the robot as a programmable, multifunctional manipulator designed to move materials, part, tools, or special devices for the various operations to be performed. I hope there's a slide change, sir.
Yes.
I hope it's visible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now when we talk about a robot, as you can see, if I give an industrial robot, there are different main components, like you will be having an end effector, which will be the tool that will be utilized for the applications. It has different degrees of freedom. What are these degrees of freedom will be explained further. And this is the base system, or you can see the support system for the robot to execute the task. And this will be executing the task with the help of a controller system. So this everything has to be controlled with the programming. So for that purpose, we'll also have a computer control system. So another way of defining is, it's a mechanical device that resembles a human. That's the reason nowadays we can see the movies like Robo 2 and Robo 1, all this were with the impression of humans. So they are used as such a way that they can complete complex human tasks. And it is another way. Usually robots means it is with an assumption that it is something which has to do some difficult task. No, a device which can operate automatically or by remote control. The task, if it is able to take up its own task, when you are given some work to do, if it is able to accomplish that task, then such a thing is also referred as a robot. So the first robot, when it was developed, is nothing but a clock, which was in 270th BC. So when we are talking about robots evolution, loss of robots, that might have occurred in the 19th century. But our ancient, our ancestors have already worked with the robots, and it is from them, from our ancestors, we derive most of the things. If we talk about, if we go back to our spiritual books also, most of the things what are being invented, drones and everything, all these are mentioned in our Vedas also. So it's up to us how we explore what is given by our ancestors and how we are implementing with the new technology. So coming to a short history of the robots, in 350 BC there was a Greek mathematician which he built a mechanical bird which dubbed the pigeon, and this was propelled with the steam. Later in 270 BC, it was a pipe organ was made which was called as hydraulics, and water clocks with movable figures was made. So robots, it has various applications. It can be for the propelling or for movement or something, transport. It can be for your automatic clock usage, or in terms of automatic loom also, that was which was built in 1801 by Joseph to control a punch cards. So in 1880 there was also a artificial life book was written, but real evolution or a drastic evolution has occurred in 1941 with the science fiction writer Isaac Asimov. He has given the word robotics to define the technology of robots, and thereby the rise of this robot industry has occurred. And Asimov has given the 3 laws of robotics. By default, if you are doing anything, you have to follow these 3 laws of robotics. And in 1921, the term robot was first used by Rossum's Universal Robots. Okay, so it was like a simple plot wherein the man makes robot and the robot then kills man. So that's how the evolution. So that's the reason it is up to us human beings to predict how we can utilize the robots. And technology should be used as a boon rather than a pain. And thereby the revolution, and we had different evolutions occurring. And the 3 laws of robotics are: a robot may not injure a human, or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. So it should be helping or assisting the person, but should not cause any harm to the human being. A robot must obey the orders. It may be by human beings, except where such orders conflict with the first law. That means it should obey the orders, but that order should not be causing any harm to the human beings. And the next second law is a robot must protect its own existence and should not conflict with the first or second law. And later on, a 0th law was added up. That is, the 0th law was a robot may not injure humanity. Okay, it's almost like instead of human, once again a law was removed not to allow any harm to the humanity. So based upon that, even in the previous one, there were fiction movies that were taken out in 1977 with Star Wars. Then you had Stanford Cart, which was across a chair filled room without human assistance. Then we had the evolution in 1990s, a drastic evolution, that is Pathfinder lands on Mars. Then there we had the first node of ISS is placed in orbit using robotic arm. Then Tiger Electronics introduced Phoebe, which can react to its environment and communicate using 800 phases. Thereby, you have seen the humanoid robots also evolution occurring. In 2004 and 5, the Japan Asimo has come into the picture. So, with respect to it, historic review when we want to do it, there are certain limits. What are the limits? Is you cannot have 6 precision joints between robots base and manipulated extreme, because any point in space has 6 degrees of freedom, and that is a restriction. Now, when we talk about a human being, it can replace or can act as a human being, but it cannot be a human being. Because if we talk about a shoulder till your wrist arm, it is having 7 degrees of freedom. It is known as a redundant joint. And this is possible with only with the creator. The creators creates, but as we are his creations, we cannot create to the extreme limit as the creator. So we cannot have all the 6 degrees of freedom defined, and we will be able to do only simple and intuitive programming. And the whatever robotic limits are there, it should be adapting to the environment by having the sensorial simulations. And the margin of the range, the minimum margin cannot be beyond 0.3 mm. And the manipulator lifting capacity is also limited to 150 kgs. If the size is too big, then it can go for it, but there are restrictions for that. The trajectory means the path that it follows has to be carefully defined. And at the same time, whatever robot programming we are doing, it should be synchronized with the mobile targets, and it should have compatibility with the PCs. There should be high reliability, that is, it should be able to work continuously. Why we are using robots is to accomplish our task without any fatigue. Then artificial vision, then coordination, capability, mobility, all this, energy conservation, all these are the limits, or we can say these are some of the things which should be taken into consideration whenever we are going for the utility of robots. A simple video. The various applications of robots in arc welding, spot welding. I hope it's visible. Thank you. Coming to the elements of robotic system, now we have seen there are numerous applications. Now what does this robot made up of and how can we design for it? That can be understood when we understand what are the elements of a robot. So when we talk about the elements of a robotic system, it is having both hardware and software. The components of a robotic manipulator will be a manipulator as indicated, the base and arm assembly, then end of arm tooling, actuators, transmission elements. These are my basic hardware. Along with it, the other hardware is the control systems like controllers, sensors, then equipment interface, that means the cables and everything. Then coming to the software, we need a computer system, a microprocessor with PLC. PLC is nothing but programmable logic controllers, then controller softwares. These are the basic elements of a robotic system. So when we talk about a robot, as you can see, if I'm talking about this arm, you can see that this is one rigid link, this is another link. A part which is used to design, that is known as a link. Each link will be joined with a joint. So a robotic joint is a mechanism that permits relative motion between the parts of a robotic arm. So these joints, you can classify them as prismatic or revolute. Prismatic means in linear motion. If I have a linear joints and linear motion, then they are known as my prismatic joint. Whereas revolute joint means it can be a rotation. Okay, so rotational joints, I call it as the revolute joints. So coming to the types of joints, in linear joint, when we are talking about a linear joint, if there are two joints, if this is an input link, this is an output link, the joint can move like this with one link fixed, or the other link, it can have this type of a motion. Okay, linear motion, this will be an orthogonal motion. Along with it, if I am having another link which rotates like this, then it is a rotational joint. If I am having a joint wherein the two axes are matching, but it is rotating like this, that is my twisting joint. If my axis, one link is like this, another link is like this, and now this rotation is occurring, then it is known as my revolving joint. So based upon these types of joints only, the complete robotic manipulator will be designed. So accordingly, the degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom means how the movement between two links, that is two fixed bodies, can be. Okay. So the base and arm, we can have vertical motion means z-axis motion. Radial in and out motion is my y-axis. Then left to right is my swell motion. And coming to the end effector, the basic wrist motions, when we are saying, it is your rolling. This is my rolling action. It is represented by R. And pitching means up and down, like the boat moving in the water up and down. That is my pitch. And it is accomplished with my rotational joint. Then yaw is left to right movement. So these are the movements that have to be there with respect to the end effector. Then based upon this, the types of robots will be there. We can classify the robots based upon the degrees of freedom or the complexity of the path they want to have. That is point to point. Like I have shown a video when it is doing the spot welding or pick and place. That is nothing but it was placing the units from one place to another, or continuous in case of a welding robot. The type of power source. For the manipulator, we can use electrical, hydraulic, or a pneumatic source. And based upon the control system. Servo means if I'm just using for simple task, I'll use a switch. Then that is known as my non-servo system. Whereas if I'm having a feedback and I'm using complex sensors so that to check whether the required destination or required task is accomplished by the manipulator or not, if it is being checked, that type of a controller system, you call it as a servo system. And whether the robot is stationary at one place, or a mobile robot. Mobile robots are nothing but which will be having a movement. Nowadays, we have seen that the robots are utilized even in the medical field. And previously, people have to go for endoscopy. It is a tedious, and people are scared about it because they had to put a pipe inside their body. Instead of that, the nano robots have replaced this complete process. What happens in nano robots is it's a tablet sized robot that will be there, a small chip robot which is taken as a tablet, which moves around our whole body and comes out. So that's how the revolution has occurred. So when I say robot, as I said, it is something which eases the task of a human being. It need not be a complex thing. Coming to the classification of robots based upon mechanical configuration. When I say mechanical configuration, just now as I said, the different types of joints, how they are related with each other, based upon that, the configuration will be defined. So I have a Cartesian robot wherein I'll be using only linear joints. Whereas if I talk about cylindrical one, I use two linear joints and one cylindrical. If I'm using two rotational joints or revolute joints and one linear joint, then it is a polar. In case if I'm using all revolute joints only, then that is my jointed robotic arm. So these are the various types of robotic arm configurations that are being utilized in the industry. So based upon the application, based upon where and how they are being used, we'll have this different configurations. Usually when we talk about it in an industry, we'll be having this various robots being utilized. And coming to the types of robots, we can have androids like humanoid robots, which are used for different applications. Like IIT Bombay has developed a dancing robot. Other than because it's all about Make in India, I'm focusing more about the robots that have evolved in India also. Or we have a wheeled robots which will be acting as the mobile robots. Then we have industrial robots. Then medical robots are there for the surgery purpose also. Nowadays we can see that surgeries are laborious. That is, some surgeries will be around 8 hours, 12 hours. In that case, if a human being is involved, there are chances of fatigue. And due to fatigue means tiredness. With the tiredness, there are chances of some mistake occurring. To avoid that, we can use the robots. The robots, along with the assistance of the surgeon, will be performing the surgeries. Then polyarticulated tele-robots, that is, they can give the information to the other people. They can be mobile robots, then androids, then zoomorphic. That is based upon the utility, we have different types. Now when we want to design a robot, there are some specifications. Like when we talk about, if we are talking about I want to buy a vehicle, or if I want to buy a laptop, I have to have a specifications, like what is the hard disk, what should be the size of the screen, like that. In a similar way, for the robot also, there are certain specifications that need to be defined. Like what is its load capacity, what is its mobility, what is its workspace, agility, precision and repeatability, and work environment. So based upon that, what is this load capacity? It is nothing but the maximum weight that it can move under any configuration. Because just now we have discussed about the different configurations. For this different configurations, what is the maximum weight it can take? That is defined as the load capacity. Okay. Then coming to the mobility. Mobility is determined by the total number of independent movements that the robot is able to do. The movements can be of linear motion or rotations. Workspace. It's the space region composed by all the points that are reached by the end of the arm. at any point without taking the tool into account. So when we talk about the industrial applications, what is the region that it will be able to cover? That is known as the workspace. Now you can see that if I'm using a linear Cartesian robot, it will be covering a rectangular space. In a similar way, if I take a cylindrical robot, it will be covering the cylindrical work envelope. Whereas if I talk about a jointed arm configuration, it will be taking a spherical area or the spherical volume. So this is known as my workspace. Agility is defined with two parameters, that is maximum velocity and maximum acceleration. Because when we want a robot to pick and place, when it is picking, initially the acceleration and velocity will be zero. When it is moving, it should move with maximum velocity and maximum acceleration, and once it is reaching the target position, there should be a deceleration, that is decrease in its acceleration. So that is what defines its agility. Along with it, the robotic specifications, the other specifications are precision and repeatability. Precision is the capability to position the terminal element at a point in the workspace. That is, if I'm talking about robot, should go and place something at this point. So whether it is reaching this point, exactly this point or not, is a precision. But how many times is it reaching the same position without any error? That is known as the repeatability. Whereas work environment is the important requirement for robots is it should not be having any contaminated environment or extreme temperatures. But some of the robots are designed as such that nowadays we see robots are also used for the manhole cleaning and all those, or they are also used to detect or act as alarm in mining facility. So that is in case it has to be specifically designed with respect to it. Some latest sensors have to be incorporated in the robots. Coming to the roles and jobs of robots, they are used in the computer assisted manufacturing, military, medical, space exploration, and for the personal purposes also. So when we say computer assisted, you can use it. Automobile industry, most of the automobile industries, if they are going for automation, it is completely controlled with robots. Car industry, general packaging. Now we have also seen the Amazon has shifted over for the AI-based robotic packaging system. The mail processing. All these are the computer assisted manufacturing systems. Then for the military purpose, we can use computer GPS guided bombs like smart bombs,
நாளைக்கு சாயங்காலத்துக்கு வச்சுங்க
movement of troops,
நாளைக்கு சாயங்காலத்துக்கு தான் நான் வச்சிருந்தேன் வெளியே இருக்கல அங்க இருக்க சரியா இருக்கேன் சீரான சொல்றது நான் கோழி அடைச்சிட்டு வரேன்
excuse me,
மழை நேரம் கதவை பேக்கு கதவுல பூட்டி பூட்டி போடணும்
Shobha ma'am, please switch off your microphone. Shobha ma'am.
It's glory ma'am, glory ma'am. Thank you. So for the military purpose also we can utilize like computer GPS guided bombs are also there. The moment glory ma'am, glory ma'am.
நான் கோழி அடைச்சிட்டு
Ma'am, please mute yourself. There is disturbance. Glory, ma'am.
You can unmute them.
Okay, I'll continue. Okay, so even for the computer GPS system, smart bombs, movement of troops and weapons, we are using robots.
सर जी रिमूव कर दो इनको.
Then when we are talking about
प्रकाश सर इनको रिमूव कर दो प्लीज.
Sir. I shall tell to the principal, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, when we are talking about advancement in war
Others
weapons,
are requested, please mute the mic. Others are requested. Kind request to all. Glory, madam, I think so. Mute your mic, please.
okay, I'll go. Okay, when we are talking for the military, nowadays we are seeing that with the GPS, the drones, whatever, drones evolution is also a branch of the robotics. So with the drones itself, the targeting and the shooting is being carried out. Especially for our military also, they are facing this problem. And that's the reason some of our machines. And with respect to the advancement in war weapons, aircraft artillery, the naval ships, our robots are playing a vital role. Coming to the medical, for the medical, the robots have the medical, the robotic technology, the evolution of robots have been a boon with respect to the prosthetic limb. There are many cases wherein the people who have not been able to walk or have their movement, they are blessed with this possession of the prosthetic limbs. The pacemakers, the people who are having the heart problem. In the heart, what happens is sometimes especially the people who are diabetic and all that, there will be a pause in the pulse rate of them, because of which the pumping will stop. So with the pacemakers, a shock is given to the heart, and thereby it should be continuously pumping the blood into the different parts of the body. So for this pacemaker, it has to sense at what moment it has to give that shock to the heart, so that it will be able to function properly. The dialysis, some of the people who are suffering with the kidney, you'll see that they have to undergo every 2 days dialysis and all that. That process is also minimized with this robotic technology. The heart rate monitors, blood pressure machines, all this are an evolution, or they have done. The growth of them has occurred because of the evolution of the robotic technology. Nowadays, there is also a small chip that is being incorporated in human bodies, usually to monitor how the flow, that is the blood, usually if a person is suffering with diabetic, what happens, he or she has to go for the uh, continuous monitoring, or they undergo for the H1BAC test to check the 3 months. But there is a wrong notion, like if you check in the fasting, if the fasting is normal, your sugar levels are normal. That's a wrong notion. Or if you talk about the post lunch, also 2 hours. Usually, when you do the testing, you will be very conscious, and thereby that correct reading is not given. Instead of that, your blood levels, usually what happens is, what is the food you consume, as you consume it, whether that insulin is released properly or not. At that moment, how and what it is functioning, that readings are written. So for that one, For the proper monitoring for diabetes, you have a small chip that is incorporated in the human body through which the readings are taken and the complete blood picture, that is sugar picture of that patient is monitored, and thereby you will be able to predict how the organs will be affected and what are the way he or she should live, have a lifestyle. So that's how the evolution of robots will be helping us. Then the space exploration, there has been drastic importance. We have developed, the robonaut was developed in 2004. The humanoid robot to assist astronauts was there. Then you have virtual reality. Virtual reality now has become a common thing, even for the games and everything. We use virtual reality. So wherein the robots are assisted. Then stereoscopic vision. The dexterous hands. Dexterous hands means if you have very repetitive, tedious, hard-working tasks, that can be accomplished with the robots. And we have also seen the Mars exploration was carried out with the robots, robotic thing itself. Then coming to the personal, we have the fax machines, computers, refrigerators, blenders. All this will be just saying that electronic appliances. But what happens in this? If I talk about a refrigerator, in day-to-day life, you'll see that if the ice has been filled up in your refrigerator, freezer, what happens? It automatically defrosts. So that means anything which works with its own knowledge is a robot. So even a refrigerator, we can consider that. Now even in the refrigerators, now we have an evolution occurring. What is that evolution? In the refrigerators, they are providing a small box. Okay? In the small box itself, you can keep the milk to turn it into curd. So within 15 minutes, it converts your milk to curd. So that means it's a AI technology, or it converts. Usually what we assume a refrigerator is for cooling purpose. In a cooling thing, we are having a heating system at an appropriate temperature, because curd forms at a specific temperature itself. And we all use it because we are facing our summer season. We all know about it, importance of curd, right? So that what happens is it monitors, it brings to a certain temperature, because it is kept at a certain temperature at which the milk can convert into a curd. Thereby the conversion will be occurring within 15 minutes. The GPS receivers. Nowadays you can see the smart watches. What are the smart watches? It monitors when you walk, what are the steps, what is your heart rate, what is your BP, all those things. Along with it, you also have the development of watches wherein it may not have IoT, that is Internet of Things, but based upon your GPS system and program. Usually what happens is, there's a general saying, कि कुंभ की मेला में घूम गए, because there were so many people around. So, or if you go for exhibition, you feel like sometimes if it is too crowded, you lose your kids. So there are smart watches wherein the tracking system is also possible. So all this is an evolution or is a part of your robotic technology. The smelting process, the soldering. There are many applications like soldering in wherein you can find that the robotic arms are used, because soldering requires continuous movements. In that case, a human, if you are trying to keep a pen holded for more than 15 minutes in that same position, if you hold it, what happens? There is a fatigue in the hand, or you'll feel the strain. So that's the reason for repetitive, continuous with precision tasks, we use the robotic arms. The material applications, then rectified. If you want to carry out your sorting, palletizing, all this. Palletizing means you want to have many units taken at once. Then the maintenance, for the maintenance purpose, Also, we use robots, like it will be helpful in carrying out the quality testing. With the vision sensors, it will be able to measure whether it is of the correct dimensions or not. Other than that, there are other sensing systems like your force sensor, the proximity sensors. All this will be helping in carrying out the inspection. At the same time, the machine tools which are being used continuously, their monitoring is also important. So that is being accomplished with the robots. The assembly operations, it is, when we say assembly operations, it's not just mechanical field or something. Even in the pharma industry, you'll see the application of robots. The robots are being utilized for the bottling, capping, tightening of the cap and all those things. If you have observed the Intel ad, in the Intel ad also, on the motherboard processor, the robotic arm will be pressing the different chips. So that means even in IT industry, be it any walk of life, industry will see the application of robots. The inspection, the cutting purpose for various sheet metal purposes. If we are talking about the almaras, the almara sheet is made up of a gauge, 18 gauge, 15 gauge, 17 gauge numbers. So that sheet metals, if I want to cut it, or for any other purpose if I am utilizing it, the precision laser cutting is possible with the robotic arms. What are the advantages of this robots is, each machine, that robot helps a population via technology advancements and improvement in the overall health of a society. There can be medical advancements, and labor intensive activities are decreased, wherein there is more fatigue, repetitive task and all that. In that case, the robots may not be, robots are the only solution, because we cannot stay in the human being. And whatever mathematical and statistical computations are there, they are eased with the help of robot, because I'll write a program, based upon the program the robot will give me an answer. Robots can go and do things that are unsafe for humans, that is bomb disarming robots, space probes, etc. The cons and future concerns are what? Usually when we say that we want to go for a robotic technology, they say that people may lose jobs. No. Or there may be a war of worlds. Because when we are saying it nowadays, now as we said, loss of jobs, it is not possible, because the robots which are there, they have to be programmed and controlled by human beings. But at the same time, as human being, we also have to follow the first law of robotics and second law of robotics. That is, they should be helping the human beings but should not cause any harm. Coming to the war of worlds, why it is a concern is, as you can see with the robotic technology development only, we have the enhancement of drone technology. What is happening in drone technology? The people are able to exactly point out where your target enemy is there, and thereby with the location they are targeting the enemy. So it is not safe, and they are also having certain techniques wherein when the drone enters into a certain zone, into a stratoscope zone, there are chances that it is not detected with the satellite systems or the systems of military systems. So that's the reason it's up to us how we convert this technology, either a boon or a pain. Coming to, as I've discussed in detail about what is the history, what are the various elements and applications, now I would like to focus upon how exactly a robot, if you want to develop, what are the things you need to conserve. Because the project which I have accomplished is a pneumatic quad robot, that is a 4-legged robot. This is the 4-legged robot, and this is granted a patent. The patent was granted in 2021 only. And when we want to start with a project with robotics, we need to understand what is the physics and what is the prototyping. Now when you want to talk about a 4-legged robot, I need to have a simulation and understanding of how a dog moves or how a horse moves. When I understand that, I understand kinematics. Kinematics is nothing but it is the link movements, because I have to move. This is one link, this is another link. Between these links, how the movement can be. That is kinematics. And with respect to it, every link, I need to have some bore diameter. And the robot has to move. So with respect to it, what are the travel calculations? Then what are the structural analysis have to be done. That is, I'll simulate it in a virtual environment first. Then after that, I'll be going for its final fabrication. So when we talk about it, I should first understand what are the available materials. So I started with the pneumatic cylinders to have the required ground force. Then the joints, what should be the joints, so that there should not be any disturbance between the piston and linkage. And what are the different joints, how the hook, that is the base movement should be, the bottles which will help in the travel, the control walls, and where should be the center of mass. So with respect to it, kinematics is based upon four-legged mammals. So based upon that, what is the envelope it can cover? What should be the height of the linkages? And based upon that, the linkages, angles of the thigh and knee. Because if I talk about a leg, a leg will have a thigh and the knee. So between them, what should be the angle? The actuation, that is movement of the link. So the link design was carried out, simulation of it, what is the angle it can make, what is the distance it can cover, that simulation was carried out. Then the bore calculations, that is, I need to have the moment. So the pneumatics is considered, because hydraulics means it will not be able to work with the enough payload. It will be a slow operation. If I go for electronics, it's quick operation, but the reliability is less. So that's the reason we consider pneumatic operations. So pneumatic actuating system was considered with an operating pressure of 6 bar, and it should be able to take a payload of 80 kgs. Based upon that, the ground force, reaction force, frictional forces were calculated. And thereby, what should be the total length it can be, what should be the cylindrical length, and all those calculations. And for these calculations, it was referred NPTEL, national, we have the NPTEL courses through which the information was gathered, and the calculations for the piston and all actuating system was designed. Then what should be the outstroke calculation, in-stroke calculations, all these calculations have to be done. When we say robotics, it's not just about the programming, the structure design also matters. So for the structure, whatever structure we are considering, you have to do the mathematical calculations. Based upon the mathematical calculations, build up a CAD model. Once the CAD model is as per the required standards, then better to go for fabrication. So the selection of tank was done. Then but the distance that it has to cover was calculated, and how many cycles and all that. The calculations, simulations of the leg movements, because the leg movement is the main thing. Then synthesis of components was carried out, the different linkages, joints, all that have been considered. The roll cage, chassis on which the cylinder will, the thigh linkage, knee linkage. Then structural analysis was carried out using ANSYS. It's an simulation software. So for the previous joints, then for the linkages, what could be the deformation and the forces, how you are constraining, based upon that, how the movement will be. Then the pressure vessel, whatever cylinder you are taking, with the required dimension? Will it be able to keep up the pressure and everything? And based upon that, this is the CAD model that was developed, and the final design I've already shown in the picture. So for this one, that was the mechanical part. As I said, when we say a robot, it is consisting of both hardware and software. So for the software, we need to have the Raspberry Pi. Then with respect to it, the camera, the various motors, Wi-Fi, node, GPS system, and you can connect it to an app. This will be acting as the software part. So for that one, if you want to have a live streaming, you can have the USB camera, Raspberry to the web server. Then a tracking system is possible with this. All these components can be placed on the chassis of the robot. Then interfacing the quad robot with IoT, that is Internet of Things. Then this applications are, it can use the package, it can deliver packages in military areas. It can move on rough terrain also because it is not wheeled, and it will be able to detect the intruders, or with the wireless information can give the information about the enemies. So these are, other than that, it can also perform the simple pick and place operations. So this is how even in the other countries they are using the quad robots. So as an effect, we wanted to attempt for it in Make in India concept. Thank you one and all for your patience hearing. If there are any queries, please let me know.
Thank you, ma'am, for your detailed speech on role of robotics in every field. Now, after such a good keynote speech, now the topic is open for discussion. So questions and doubts are welcome from the participants, please. Once again, I request participants, if you have any question or doubt, please keep it before Honorable Ma'am for the answer and explanation. Please, participants.
Ma'am, myself Parthura from West Bengal. My question is that what is the role of robotic technology in the field of library for book classification and cataloging the book?
Pardon, can you repeat? Role
role of robotic technology in the field of library for book classification and
Yes, yeah. It is also possible, like if you see for the books, all the books have their ISBN, or you have a barcode. Based upon the barcode, it can do the sorting, and based upon the sorting, it can keep in the required tracks. So the robot, for this one, the robot can be designed within your college itself, because it has a simple technology of only vision sensor is required, and it has to be programmed for sorting and placing. So a small robotic arm costing less than 10,000 with the programming with the help of Raspberry Pi can be designed. It has a numerous advantage in library section also.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Well, actually, robots don't make us lazy, but they assist us. So it is up to us how we utilize them. So if you are making, if you, अब काम वाली बाई आ रहे बोल के अपन काम नहीं करेंगे तो कुछ काम will become unhealthy, right? Similar way is the how we utilize the robots. So that's the reason how we utilize for our hazardous environment. We should be looking forward for that. So it's better we utilize them rather than ban. Okay. Artificial intelligence will not be fully utilized until the working. Yes, as they say, artificial intelligence but we are the blessed human intelligence. So whatever we incorporate within them, that is taken by the humanoid robot. So that's the reason it's up to us how much and how far we can give this artificial intelligence to the robot.
Anybody else with any more question, please? I feel now there is not any question or doubt after this keynote speech and meaningful question answer session. Us to listen the concluding words of the chief organizer and chairperson of this webinar series.
Thank you, Professor Karar sir, and today's resource person, Madam Dr. Ishrat Mirzana, Madam, who is Professor from Mechanical Engineering Department, R&D Coordinator, Muffakham Jaha College of Engineering and Technology, who delivered a topic on role of robotics in every field. The topic was made very easy by the today's resource person. Our organizing committee members, including Vice Principal SD Misal sir, IQC coordinator Professor Sanjay Kale sir, both the supervisors Praveen Udge sir, Karanje sir, all the teachers joined here from my staff and other colleges also, and all the joint members from other places and daily joining the webinar series. It was the topic just we are knowing. Those who are not from engineering side, they get detailed knowledge about the history of the robotics, definition of robotics, then evolution of the robotics, use of robotics. All these things robotics is explained by detail. Up to this moment I was thinking the robot is a human like structure, and it is programmed as per our requirement. But after listening this research means topic, I get the idea robotic is just automatic doing any machine like this. I starting you have said that. After that, the uses of that in medical field, in our daily life field, also in war field, or to search any stolen or any misplaced thing. So how these different operations or the applications of robotics you have explained, and everything we got about this knowledge. Those who are doing research, as like one question was asked by someone about the books also, those who are working in this field, they will also get some idea about this detailed knowledge about this. And you are a patent holder, also copyright holder, also awarded by various award as a teacher to you. Your contribution in this field is very appreciable. We wish all the best and all the future progress of you in the field of your engineering side. It was very nice topic, so much clear idea about the robotics, and I was worrying that how she explained about the robotics on this topic, but you have gradually and very systematically presented every aspect of the robotics. Thank you, madam, for your speech and joining here today, and happy Ramzan to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Bedkar sir, and your team for giving me this opportunity. Looking forward for many more events if I could be part of you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the wishes, advance wishes also. Happy Sri Ram Navami, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. And just wait for formal vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Prakash sir, you are not audible. Then anyone from our office, college, or maybe Dole madam will express vote of thanks. Or here those who are present.
Thank you, sir,
Yes.
for your concluding words. Now, on behalf of the organizing committee, winners is Kumarswamy College Ausa.
Today here is power cut and
And
other
delivered a
problems.
very nice lecture on the topic role of robotics in your and
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
its
ma,
definition
yeah.
up to the use of it in different
Yeah,
fields.
ma.
So on behalf of the organization, I sincerely thank you, ma'am, for this keynote speech. And I would like to thank
नाही खाऊ दे वाटे घे दे की खाऊ दे 2 घास इथं असं बघत खा का मम खायचं हां बस ओके हां थोडंसं खायचं मग थोडंसं खायचं तिथं ती ताई बघूलाय तुला दीदी बघूलात ना दीदी बघूलात हां बघ दीदी बघूलात बघ खा
Thank you, Prakash sir, for the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. I think there is internet problem, and you can.
I also thank all the participants for joining this webinar series punctually and taking active part in the question answer session. So thank you, Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am, who has given very nice introduction of today's keynote speaker. And now I request all the participants, please fill up feedback link so that you can have your certificate. Now at the end, with the kind permission of Chief Organizer,
Okay, sir. Having internet problem with you. Thank you, madam. Thank you for joining with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
ती बाई काय म्हणली माहिती आहे का काय म्हणली माहिती आहे का काय म्हणली होय माहिती काय म्हणली माहिती आपल्याला थँक्यू म्हणली